All right, here we go. Welcome, 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 everybody, to another episode on The Awakened Being. Today, we are talking about healing with energy. I'm here with Jessica and NJ from Australia. Jessica, where are you from again?
New Zealand.
Colorado.
I'm New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
it's like the Canada-US thing. Like, you just don't mince those two. So, New Zealand.
I know, I always say Australia and it's New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah, we're quite close anyway. We try and claim the same recipes and things like that. So,
I can't wait to go to New Zealand one day. I'm excited about that.
Oh, the energy is very cool.
Yeah.
My dad, who's passed away now, he had kept this map of New Zealand on the wall for years. And it was always something that I was like, I definitely just need to go to that place someday.
Yeah.
So today we are talking about healing with energy, and there's so many different modalities that include healing with that energy that, you can't just talk about one, but even just the concept of, what is energy? Why does it heal? How does it heal? What is it? Where is it, And those are the kinds of things that I feel like we should kind of tap on when I'm talking about healing with energy. Let's just jump right in. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I think with energy for me, especially what we learn through Reiki is, the idea that it's kind of part of everything we are. It's part of the nature that we're from. It's part of the cells that keep, build our body. It's everything that we breathe in and breathe out. And it's something that we share as a community of people. It's something that we share within nature. And then it's something we share within ourselves, just our chakras. So for me, I feel like there's a strong connection to what energy represents and then how we can heal ourselves because of how much of it is really what we are, what makes us up. And for me, the idea of keeping the energy balanced and focused and utilizing it in a meditative way or even in a holistic way, like Reiki or acupuncture, it really can do some magical healing for you physically and mentally, when it comes to your mental connection and your physical connection, and any traumas that are there. Energy healing has shown to really improve a lot of pain and injury that people have gone through from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just speaking into what's coming through right now. I just kind of go with the channeling that's coming through. It is, for some people, it's really hard to fathom and understand because they're trying to go about it with the thinking mind of what is energy and energy healing. How can you heal energy without a physical thing? And it's all energy is everywhere. It's everything. And when you start solidifying it and trying to make sense about it, there's blockage. And with trauma, like you just picked up on, Jessica, that is stuck energy. And it can physically present in the body, and it can and it's usually emotion, like a deep emotion that's attached to that, and that's stuck energy. Something wants to let go and be set free, so that the free flowing energy is movement. And when you're out of alignment, there is stuck energy somewhere. You might be on loop, on repeat in your thoughts, and that is energy. Emotions are energy in motion. There is, everything is energy. And to feel like, when it's felt in the physical, that's when we can kind of make sense of it. And I've kind of come to my own way of doing things with my with the energy healing that I do and what I channel through. And it's unexplainable because it's coming through me, but at the same time, the result is in what the person has felt in their experience. And that is the physical to match that energetic movement and flow, as well as it's felt. It is, and that's the marker. That it's such a because there is so much, and I am no scientist, so that's not my field to try and explain, but there is the science, there is the quantum, the science to match all of this. That is not my area of expertise. Mine is I'm very divine, like intuitive divine femme. Like I just really trust what comes through, and what I see within clients in those shifts, and that like a physical pain actually leaves. I had that last night. I was doing a divine meditation was coming through for balance, and it was a group, and I said something about lifting a head brace off, and then afterwards the feedback was one person actually had a headache for a week, and as soon as I said that, it left. And so it's really, and the headache was gone. Like I can't explain that physically, but I really deeply trust this, because it is experienced within another person. Moving around, this is energy. It's the stuckness and the solidifying that because energy requires to move all the time and shift and grow and expand, it's that stuckness that is causing the pain and the disconnection and the dysfunction within self.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's one thing that you were talking about there that I think a lot of people miss out on, is that emotions are energy. And it's like, that disconnect, I think, has really kind of, I don't want to say, but it held back human development, because as long as you think that, your mind is who you are, for one. So a lot of people become identified by what they think instead of following what their energy is trying to tell them. Right? Not that there is an energy running through your mind that's helping you think. It's just that that's a different kind of energy. It's a programmed kind of energy, just like you program a computer. But when you plug the computer in, that computer can't run without it being plugged in. So it's like that energy that we're plugged into is the emotion, and that's the, telling us where we're blocked. And, we're not taught how to interpret our emotions, our energy. We're always taught to interpret the outside world, which leaves us, kind of confused and lost, I think, most of the time for a lot of regular people. And there was something else that you were talking about, or it's not that you were talking about it, but with your client talking about the head brace. I've worked with so many people who have gone through something in, a previous life experience. And whether that's a program that's running, or whether that's just programmed into the energy field, or whatever it is, they're still experiencing it right now. So it's like, I've worked with people where they'll feel like they have something around their neck, and then we go back and we find out that they were hung, or, feeling like they have something wrapped around their wrists all the time. And then they spent most of their lives, in a dungeon being as a prisoner. And, those feelings stay with them. So if we don't process the energy while it's happening, or while what's going on with us, we continually carry that with us lifetime after lifetime, and we'll have all of these experiences that trigger the emotion to push you to work through it.
Opportunities.
Exactly.
The reaction is never about the thing in your adult body. It is the stuck emotion somewhere else. And we're taught to think from our heads, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Instead of, what do you feel? Because it's taking us away from that intuitive, from a very young age. What do you think about this? What do you think? Yeah, it's like, what do you feel? And feeling into your body, because it's in that trauma that you're disconnecting from your actual physical body. and really centered on this conditioned thinking space.
Well, and we're really coming up, and we're not being raised in that way. I mean, from my experience and a lot of clients I work with who are just not raised to, like you said, feel like, and the people who are there that we look up to as our teachers are uncomfortable even with feelings and showing feelings. And I know as being a girl growing up, it felt very stifling a lot of times to not be able to show your emotions and get that energy out. And it becomes this tension. And then what happens is it ends up coming out in some form. It'll come out maybe as anger and frustration or it's something like depression and seclusion. That's what ends up happening when we aren't allowed to really process it, release it, and even just understand it and how we can utilize it in a healthy way, how we can help strengthen our intuition. With coaching, that mindset even is about helping to clear blockages that you have that's keeping you from moving forward or doing whatever it is that you feel lost or stuck from. And yeah, it's always, there's something in there that was just you were never taught how to release or how to feel it or notice it. And sometimes it lives in you physically and sometimes it's emotional, or all of it. But either way, it's all about kind of finding out where that's either originating from, or if you haven't even ever experienced that you have this skill to cope with these things and create a better balance of energy.
I was reminded of a story that years ago, I think this was like 13, 14 years ago, goodness gracious, just the time keeps rolling on. So there was a friend of mine who, we were kind of a group of friends, and one of my friends, he was doing a lot of Reiki on this one lady, and over time we started to recognize that her physical looks started shifting into looking more like him. So it was like, how much energy he was dispensing through him, but also not only that, because they were doing talk therapy as well. So also putting into her the way he thought and the way he looked at things and the way that he was, and a lot of times in trauma, so we, don't trust energy fields and we don't trust where we're coming from. So we're very vulnerable and open, and we can become very vulnerable and open to taking on somebody else's energy because, well, somebody else may have it better and they may have it together a little bit more. So I want to, take everything I can from that person. But when you're channeling energy for healing for somebody through the top of your head and out your hands, I always just looked at that like, okay, so that energy has to go through that person's mind, and it goes through the chakras, it goes through the heart, and then it comes down the arms. That's a big chunk of somebody's like main part of their energy field. And so to me, it was like, not only are you getting universal energy, you're getting actually an imprint energy of that person as well. So you may be picking up some of their thoughts, you may be picking up some of their emotions and some of their experiences, which can change your physical experience too. It wasn't until later on I learned about theta healing. So in theta healing, you're literally just pulling the energy down to the chakras in the palms of your hands. So it's not moving through all of you out, it's moving through the palms of your hands. And it's when your intention molds that energy through the palms of your hands, it's for the best of the person you're working on. Just curious if you guys have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, the current energies at the moment and all of the the spikes in the Schumann resonance that's measuring the electromagnetic frequencies in the earth and the solar flares and everything like that, that discomfort that's rising en masse is within all of us. Because if you've done a lot of your own inner child work and your inner healing work, that it's really shifting that stickiness of the depths, and there's a lot of patterns coming up at the moment, or thoughts that you thought that you had moved through, but it's going to the onion layers and things like that. And there are a lot of and we've all been there, so there's no wrongness in this, of wanting to support someone else over yourself. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've had an epiphany. I get it. I really want to go and share the world and help the world. And if you're coming from a space that's out of balance within you, or that wounded space, or the energies that, if you're not, like for me, it's really important to be clearing out my energy field, to be daily. Anything that I am triggered by, anything that I'm feeling in my body, I'm checking in with to clear the people, like where I spend my time as well. Because for me, time in nature and really nurturing myself is clearing out that pure source space, because you'll feel and there's no wrong. I just want to reiterate, there's no wrongness in who you go to, because you might both unlock something within each other, or a realization or an epiphany. And I really set my intentions of where I connect with the highest vibrational timeline outcome and pure God source frequency. And there is that continual work on me while I am in a space of, that's my intention, is to receive that. And it's without, when you notice people like ego, or the need to get a point across, or make something away from what is, that could be someone who's doing the work, that's their projected wounding. And we're all just walking each other home in this space as well. And it is for like me personally, in the way that I support and coach and do my healing and clearing, as people come to me because they feel something, they feel compelled. And at the same time, because we may be from similar spaces, or just there's something that resonates, at the same time, it is really important for me. I'm not telling people how to do their thing. I'm there to support. I see very easily where that stuck energy is, and support the person through to empower them to, we're doing that together. We're letting that go together, and they're feeling the shifts within them. But for them to be following their intuitive guidance and hits, I'm just merely a vessel. And there is a lot of shifts at the moment surrounding the food intake as well, and clearing out, detoxifying, and really connect. My intention, and I always check in, that I'm with light, high vibrational spaces that I'm channeling through, because igniting that memory for people who are working with me within them, when they're reclaiming their sovereignty, and then they're connecting with their divine source and space, and sharing that magic out into the world. So coming into that purity, and that I sit very much in that unity consciousness, and that unconditional love space, and just that it's a vibration, and the vibration is felt, and you meet someone at the vibration that you meet them at. So
yeah. I love that point, because I really feel like people are drawn to the places that are going to push them to their their opening or whatever it is that they need to get to the next level of learning or teaching, or, you know, like even that experience, there's no wrong in it. I'm not saying that it was wrong. Interesting observation of, okay, so, you know, there are different ways of like channeling energy and pushing it through, right?
Yeah, and it's that idea too of that keeping that high vibration energy yourself, and the idea that, you know, with coaching, what we learn is to really, we are there for them, and we're showing up, loving them unconditionally as they are, for who they are. And our job is to utilize some of our intuition with what we're hearing and our experience of going through the healing process ourselves or living it, and just noticing things and asking the powerful questions that allow them to break up these, you know, blockages and have those transformative moments, which are really what we're going towards. Because once we get there, then we can create that self-love, the ability to see things more positively. And so we're raising their energy and and teaching them practices and tools and life skills, where they can move forward and do this themselves and continually build that, go where you're first thinking positive. I think our go-to from external influences is to think negatively and shame ourselves or feel guilty for not working hard enough, or not being as good as somebody else. And all of this stuff just holds us back. And that's, you know, the tension and the blockages. And if we do have past traumas that are in there too, it's, you know, it's very messy. And, you know, until we can get somebody the help that we need to learn how to break through that and see things in a positive way, let go of what is we're still holding on to, then you can really live that life of opportunity and success or fulfillment, whatever it is that you're looking for. Because you can be more yourself, you can love yourself in that space, and it just makes you spread all of that higher energy amongst your family and your community, which is really the intention that I hope, certainly for the work that I do, is that the more we can heal people that way, and in a way that they're always choosing the positive first, or always at least trying to look towards that way, see the possibilities and the opportunity, and just constantly lifting the energy up higher and higher.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said it, NJ, is the walking each other home.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a beautiful way of saying that, you know, nobody is left behind, and we're never going to get home until we're all there together. Mm-hmm. Because that's what home is, when we're together and one. And that's, you know, I just love that saying so much. The other thing that was kind of popping in for me is, so something that I've recognized through working with people and doing inner child work are some of the darker energies that can get attached to our energy. And, you know, this can be something that really intimidates a lot of people, but to me, a dark, like any energy comes from the same source, all of it. Right. So even the energies that are opposing us and the ones that are like, you know, seem darker or maybe a little bit dangerous, they come from the same source too. And they have forgotten that everything they need is in the one collective energy. And a lot of times when we have entities that are attached to the bright lights of people that have clear energy, is that they've forgotten that they can get as much, like way more than they can being attached to you, than like being that returning to the source, than, you know, just trying to get it through, you know, a person's energy. And a lot of times, as soon as you identify that there is an energy that's attached to somebody, being able to just have that conversation with that energy and, collecting the information of what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to do by attaching to this person, and just showing them that they can have everything that they want and desire, going back to the light. I've never seen myself come across an energy that's not very quick to return to the light as soon as you explain that if you just return back to the light, you'll have as much of this as you need, and you don't have to, stay here and attached. Like, I've seen people who've had these, like, it's like run through their family, like entities that have attached and run with them through the family line or even through the soul line. Sometimes they come up as energetic twins. So there could have been twins in the womb, and one dies and the other one moves on, and that energy will stay with the person that's been forming in the womb. That too has been really interesting to come across, because a lot of times the soul that doesn't make it gets really bitter, but still doesn't recognize that it can move back to the light and get what it needs and return the way that it feels full. So yeah, I just was curious if you wanted to add anything else to that.
That is my game. It's one of my magic superpowers is showing up in the shadow work. That lens that we're all just walking each other home. That's a beautiful Ram Dass quote. I just freaking love it. That no matter how anyone meets you, whether you are triggered or you're feeling a beautiful connection, it is all an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity for you to come into the wholeness and truth of who you are, which is this beautiful unconditional love space. The shadow work is where I show up in that space deeply, because I'm unafraid to go into the eye of the storm. So these shadows can, like these, everything, I just kind of want to bring in the, wow, I'm going through a shift. So hi. Because we come into this space of when we hear entities, are like, oh, freaking out. And it's like everything's an entity, like I'm an entity, you're an entity, we're all entities. Mm-hmm. It's the vibrational space that they're operating in. And when you attach things like fear to entities, that just really amplifies because it's the energy met in that space. When, for me, and my current where I'm sitting with this, because that's in an evolution of itself, is that when you are spending a lot of time out of alignment is when it's like these entities can compound in the space. A lot of entities that you meet with are actually, they're parts of you that are showing up in a version for you to actually see and experience outside of yourself, so that you're like, well, what is this? Because that's when you see that projection, it is easier to see that within you sometimes, and know that some of them are hanging out in that playing field. And the more that we're expanding in awareness and consciousness, the more that we can see and we can know, but also at the same time, we're seeing more high vibrational and more lower vibrational, because we can see them now in this expansion going on. They're always there. So I do a lot of like entity clearing, and they can be aspects of that version of that person that has not recognized they can have come through portals and what have you, to play in the lower vibrational, because they're receiving stuff of that lower vibrational space. So if you're spending a lot of time out of alignment and say deep suffering or disconnect with yourself, they're actually receiving something from that, and that's just amplifying that energy. Through this current ascension, that a lot more are being seen, so that they can shift and move and go. And when I see them, because I'm about unity consciousness, the way I operate is I offer them there's an opportunity, there's an unconditional love space, or you can be beautifully ushered along because where we're going, your vibration is it's misaligned with us. It's not of a match. So I offer those opportunities and here for that bigger picture, but there are that shadow work, because we are the dark and the light. And when you come to realize that and you're in the balance that we are all of those things as well. So things like judgment and fear and making yourself higher than that, that comparison is going to create more division and more work within you as well. We are all of everything we see. We are all of that. So the way you treat that is how you're treating yourself on the inside as well.
Would you say that's a bit like the would you say it's kind of that once something you've invited in, you now have to let go, like that process? Is that a similar way of thinking about it?
Yeah, there's a lot, like, how am I gonna, there's a lot that you don't realize that you're inviting in by the spaces that you're playing in. Of like, I stopped drinking half a decade ago because, and that lowering of my vibration, which appears like I'm raising my vibration, but like the hangover the next day, and then you're like, why do I do this? But the entities that come in and play in those spaces as well, like there's things that you can have a choice about, like where you're meeting people as well. If you're meeting with friends and you're going for these big gossip and talking about people and bitching and sessions, and then you walk away and you've lowered your vibration, and that's an element of you that's wanting to come out as well. And it's these other things that come in this space, or they can come in to try and manipulate things as well. Like it's not for the space here because it's my stuff that I do, like the expanded version of that, which is even tricky for me to try and comprehend in this space. But just for this instance is essentially where you're out, you're spending long times out of alignment is when you can, that more compounded energy of met with who you are, or when there's these expansive shifts and you can see more of them, and they're like psychic attacks and things like that are coming in, and those energies, when you come into the space of fear, you're disempowering yourself because you have it all within you to expand and go, hey, look, this isn't, I can see you, let's move you along. And we all have that ability, but it's that expansive love and knowing that you can do that. It's just that knowing and that strength in that space.
Yeah,
there's so much. Yeah,
I resonated with what you mentioned when about cutting off alcohol. That was something that I went through 7 years ago as well, and it made me think of like how I towards the end there, when it's something that is feeling that it is lowering your energy, and it's sucking the life out of you and who you're really supposed to be. And it's the manipulation is very real. And then I often like think of that, like kind of the darkest time right before that moment of clarity where it had to be changed. I often think of these, as these demons, because there's just this part of you that comes out while you're doing that. Like maybe you, when you started using, even if it was alcohol or many other things that people utilize to help cope, but with alcohol, for example, it's just something that maybe it's easy to kind of start, and you get to experience this kind of coping, and maybe it does feel and seem like high energy, and then after a while it just eats away at that, and it's just now kind of taken over. And so when you're under the influence, or when you're in it now, all of a sudden these like, it almost feels like demons coming out, because you're no longer, there's no, your happy space and who you really are is like inside, being, really just moved in on by all the things. And then that's when you realize there's something not, well, for me, it was, I realized there's something not okay here. Like for me to be spreading energy like this around, and like, it's not only something that I'm holding on in myself, but it's now being spread and shared. Like there's something not right. And that's when, it was like, okay. And I knew I'd need to get help through that. And eventually, it was through the healing process, and where I am now, it's almost night and day, but it's amazing to feel the high energy all the time after feeling the low energy for so long. But the process of getting there is really incredible, in the different ways of healing. And really, until I got in touch with my energy, is really when I was able to be more open and break down the stuff that was happening, living through and grieving and letting go of the stuff that was really creating that, and learning new ways to cope and raise my energy and stay in, my flow, no matter what kind of comes my way. So I just really appreciated the way that you put it with the, I had never really thought about the entities. I am not much of a study on that. And it just really felt like that. It just, when you were talking about it, I almost could feel that, and the whole, like, kind of letting go, or asking them to move on, or providing them a better space. I liked that. So
yeah. I love what you're talking about here. So in my experience, though, like, and I understand that there's shadow work, and that we can have different parts of our energy that stays in the shadows. But I've actually worked with people who have like real entities attached to them.
Yeah, same. Yeah. There's,
right?
Yeah, definitely. There's
well,
those
yeah,
different.
I guess I can see. I guess that's what it kind of felt like. Like, maybe I was trying to see the idea of it, but that you were explaining. But I guess
Absolutely. And just like alcohol, it is an entity. It is something that attaches itself to you, and you become dependent on it. And it started to activate all of these different feelings inside of me when you were talking about that, because I've just gone through a breakup, and recognizing that actually I was in a trauma bond with this person for 4 years. And it's not like we had a tumultuous relationship. We actually had a very nice, easy relationship. But it's like recognizing that the energy exchange. So since we've now split up, recognizing the energy exchange that was happening between the two of us, and how it was supporting a trauma inside of me. And I was doing the same thing for him.
Right.
And like that energy exchange now is all like, as it's starting to kind of pull itself out, and like all of the little strings and all of that energy, it's having to go in and heal those holes in my energy field. And that's what happens in trauma, is you get holes in your energy field, and there's just people or substances or whatever that we look at to fill the hole, to give us, a boost of energy, or a different point of view, or, just a hug. Whatever those things are, they can start, if you start to rely on them, that the energy of them, you start to put yourself in a box. You start to, you're starting to hold yourself back for that thing. You know what I mean? You can't move forward without that thing. And then it brings me to the idea of like, falling in love, like just the words falling in love, because this is all stuff that I'm processing right now and like really starting to understand, why would you use that language? Why is it falling in love? Why isn't it raising in love? And so it really starts to show you that, love is not, it should be something that raises your frequency when you find the right person that you can, maintain your sovereignty, and you're not dependent on that person for anything, nothing. And, then you rise in that communion.
That beautiful co-creation.
Exactly. And so it's something that's been really processing. The other thing that's been processing too is how the atom works, and like the neutrons and protons and electrons. And as we're talking, all of this information is like, so we have love and fear, our basic human nature. They say that all emotions come from love and fear. And so everything is based from those two. So when you look at the atom, you can see that the atom is your positive, your positive protons that stay with you all the time. You always have an opportunity to be in positivity. It never goes away. But then you have electrons that circle, and the electrons is the negativity. So we'll say the fear. So you have the protons, which is your love, and then you have the electrons, which is the fear. And it comes in and out of reality all the time. So no matter what, as soon as you bring something into physical creation, you are automatically creating something that has an opposite charge. So this is something that's been, and the neutrons, because you also have neutrons in the atom as well. But the neutrons is when you're more in a neutral space, you actually have more power to create energy. You have more power to bring energy into physical reality, because the neutral space gives you, it gives you space to be able to create. Right. So as soon as you create something, now you're in the positive or the negative of that creation.
Right.
Yeah.
All dancing together.
We're all dancing together. That's right.
I wanted to bring up, when you were talking, Jessica, I had this little thing come up about when we're naturally going through this ascension process of what I've been through, but also what I've observed, is that you come into this, like you have these struggles. I've had freaking movie script struggles in my life, and then you come through these experiences and it's positive and it's all like, oh, love and light, and then you're like, nothing else bad can ever happen, and it's all like, oh, and you put a happy plaster on everything, and it's like, oh, just cheer up, just cheer up, just cheer up. And then and it's called spiritual bypassing, of sticking a happy plaster, say on a boiled, I'm just going to be really gross, a boil that you kind of pop, but you don't get to the core of, and it's that core thing that keeps pulling you back. So for me, with energy work, spirituality, and why I love going into the shadows of the things that people are scared to look at, like prod with a stick, because it's that compassionate space which allows the vulnerability, which is super brave, and to go to the depths of those spaces to transmute, because that's why you're freaking here, is to transmute those fears and those shadows and whatever it is that's been keeps pinging and holding you back, and transmuting that is, and for me, in the essence of spirituality is honoring and acknowledging all of those parts and all of that energy that is, because otherwise you are going to be operating off those out of alignment spaces, just like you were talking about before, Linda, as a conduit of that energy coming through. If you're coming into a space where you are still operating off your sticky parts, that is going to be transmuted through to the other person. And then you go beyond into things like there could be a soul contract between you two that you get to address, or there, you know, or if we're bringing in entities, some like malevolent entities could have bought, you know, it's just there's so many different, there's because I deeply see where they're all hanging out, and they are very much, there's so much trickery that's going on at the moment as well, where people feel like their messages are that they're receiving at the moment are from them. And I've been seeing it since last year, where they're being masked under low vibrational entities who play in that vibrational field. So discernment and clearing out your energy at the moment is key, and your heart, the stuff that makes your heart sing, that your truth, that it's such an interesting time at the moment, because I've even seen people share messages and they're like, oh, that's my grandmother, and it's like comes through with a sharp tongue, and it's like, oh, but that's what she was like, and it's like, yeah, there's something a little bit and it's, you don't need to wrong the other person, it's just the awareness for yourself, because what you're talking about before as well, Jessica, like it's the vibration that you're sharing out into the world. And the more that you hold space and honor that shadow and that heavier stuff that's coming up to go, and you're intentional, because we all have it, you're never fully healed. I was working through my shit this morning, and it's all coming up to go. When you intentionally create a sacred space to let that go, I put mine up through the Purple Violet Flame. I teach my clients that, to transmute that energy. It's not being dispersed out there. I'm not projectional vomiting it onto anyone else. It is that sacred space, because it's supporting the collective to raise vibration, which is what we're doing in this ascension as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I think a lot of, you know, and it's, for me, with the way people are coming up, you know, just speaking as us as human, we're, you know, the way we're coming up and the way the world is getting more difficult. I think a lot of people have little space to take in what the knowledge that they need, even to start creating the high vibrations. And for me, you know, I've learned how to that I know I need to heal and continually heal. I love the process. I completely enjoy going through the healing process, and I'm excited to do it forever. But for some people, you know, it's the idea of it feels overwhelming, and I think it's just getting to that point where we can create some kind of hope and possibility, so that is a go-to, you know, emotion in us, to help raise the vibrations as a community and spread that along, and also, of course, being kind and gentle to ourselves and allowing us to move through things. For me, being able to get to this point where I trust more, and I see things, I enjoy more, and I love more, and all of that has helped me to process my emotions and uncertainty and new challenges a lot easier. And I'm able to see opportunities and possibilities a lot clearer. And so for like, I always try to hope that I can help others just even create a little space each time, just a little bit more space each time to start allowing that openness and that awareness to happen. I think there's just some blockages that are almost so hard to get through with people, that we just have to even just give them a little bit of space, a little bit of our energy, for them to feel it themselves, which often comes with us just guiding and coaching them through their self trauma and how they see themselves and everything like that. But yeah, it's, for me, it feels really amazing if I can make somebody who's had a really rough time just even feel like they can move through the evening at home or something. Like it's just a little relief of that, just providing a little bit of energy there is why I love doing this. But I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but a lot of emotion here for me, like, because I just love I do really love the healing process and learning about other ways that people see things and process things is really neat. So
Absolutely. So what's been coming up a lot is really starting to understand the power that there is in joining energies and community, and really recognizing that when we come together, just like in atoms, when we come together, we have more power in numbers. And what happens is, just like in chemistry, when all of the atoms come together, you share the electrons. So the electrons become everybody's to process and handle. So, some of the electrons in some of the negativity in your life, I may be very able to help you very easily process that. So, when we work in community or when we're working with somebody, it's like we can share our ability with that person. A lot of times when I'm working with people in even in inner child work and in the sessions that I do, my guides will often, connect my third eye to their third eye. And I know my mental space is being shared with them so that they can put the puzzle pieces together. They can have like a piece of it so that they are able to see, because, and really ultimately how I feel it is we're just opening a space of neutrality. When we're so charged, when you're charged in positivity, there's a negativity. When you're charged in negativity, there's a positivity. But as soon as you step into the neutrality of it, where there's no positive or negative, there's nothing, it's just peace. There's nothing there. All of a sudden, these puzzle pieces start coming together, and it's just so easy to see the truth. It's so clear that it's like, okay, so you can see the negative and the positive of the situation and how it is. Once you see it, once you understand it, it has no power over you anymore. There's nothing left in it. And it's not that you're not going to engage in the positive negative. It's just that it's not going to sweep you away and be the only focus anymore. And that's the other thing is, what are you focusing on? What are you putting your attention and your energy on? Because if you're like you were talking about earlier, NJ, if you're constantly talking about comparison or judgment or superiority, or like there's so many different human conditions and programs that we see repeatedly over and over again. Like our parents are engaging in them, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, everybody is engaging in these programs of either they're better than somebody else, or they have an issue, or judging somebody else, or comparing one person to another, or when you look at the religion and how they like to put sin on people's minds and in their program, that if they do this then they're absolutely wrong. Like these are programs that force you into these negative states, or sometimes it's a positive state because, oh, I didn't go through that, so I must be better than everybody else, right? So there's just so many different ways that our focus is being forced into these different perspectives and programs that keep us separated, keep us not communing together and working together. That I feel the more that we heal, the more that this is going to start kind of opening itself up. It has to. There's like, we've already gone the other way of like complete separation. It doesn't work. We need to come up with something different.
It's the compassion that you hold for yourself, because the compassion is the opposite of judgment. And when you start doing your inner work and your self-healing, and then realizing your truth and everything like that, and you're seeing a reflection of, just around here, that you are all of this, you have created all of this. And then when you can hold space for yourself, you can hold space for another. So every trigger being your opportunity. And it's so often that we come into these spaces of like, oh, you can just come to me for support. But people are saying this, but they're unable to hold a space for themselves, or you'll either get you'll get given advice, you'll get told, you'll get opinion, or this space it's that peaceful, benign, but you don't feel that the energy of that person that you're with. It is completely, it's calm, it's that center space to allow what's rising within you to come up, to be seen and held space for without judgment, and with that compassion. And that's what's coming up to go. And you do that by learning to do your inner work. And it's that if you're continuing to go to, say, a healer in whatever modality, like a massage therapist, and you keep going for the same issue, you're trying to palm that off into someone else to do, and you're still getting the same thing. And our bodies are telling us so much where that stuck energy has compounded. And there's so much shadow rising at the moment with these big shifts, so much. And so for me, like another lens of the whole entity thing, like they're all coming up together en masse, so they just get a bit more curly fries. They're the things that I've been, as I'm expanding the spaces that I'm in, like I'm physically, well, not physically, but it just feels like an unplugging energetically people from spaces. And it's just taking this a little bit longer, like I used to whip in and that was done. And it's just taking a little bit longer as we're going into even more and more depths of out of alignment in those spaces. And then the loving all of that process, when you start loving instead of going, oh God, I've got to address this, and you start going into that space, like you're saying, Jessica, of that loving, that healing, because you're about to receive, reclaim your sovereignty. You're about to, I get these amazing epiphanies. I'm getting goosebumps right now. You're expanding in your awareness, your abilities, the way that you're connecting with people is shifting and growing and changing. And all of the like aha moments are just be like, wow. And the way I can hold space for people. And then you get all this new information, transmissions, downloads from your highest self of wherever you've been. And then you're remembering your soul gifts. And then you're like, whoa, that's new. I get this whole like, whoa, that's new. Now I've got to use these tools to practice and integrate with this. And it's like, whoa, this is, and it supersedes a thinking mind, but you can only see as far as your shadows. Mm-hmm. You don't see all of this other stuff if you're steeped in the energy of that dense energy. And the lowest vibration, the densest one, is shame.
Yeah.
Followed by like guilt and fear, and not long after that, but shame. And
shame is devastating, and really to our ourselves and our community as a whole, and the way we speak to each other and speak to ourselves, the terms that we use and the connotations and weight that we put on these things. And to have people expect others to feel confident or worthy or valuable when we're often focusing on failures, and you know, we're basically saying to others that you're lazy, and you just have these terms and these disrespectful things, you know, to make people feel that heavy weight, and it's not even something that they're doing to receive it, but it's something our society has created. I mean, it's something that a lot of people feel in their family, and it makes it hard. And then when we're internalizing it and we're telling ourselves that, I mean, we don't even need other people to tell us anymore, because now that's all we tell ourselves. I mean, that's incredibly devastating. And you know, it just is a bit something that people really need to change and understand. It was when I read Daring Greatly from Brene Brown, which was one of my, well, it was definitely an aha moment for me, that transformativeness, because she really opened my eyes up to vulnerability, but also the idea of what shame is and how it is created and where it comes from. And it was just such an eye-opening thing to see it as what it is. And now it's like, I feel like I'm on a, you know, mission to just, you know, fight off shame from everyone, because it is so painful and people carry it so close to their heart. And yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at even the way religion is based, one of the biggest things is you're born in sin. Like, you're born a sinner. So you're already born shameful. You're already born wrong. Something wrong with you. Well, like, before you're even born. And that's
Yeah.
like the programming of that is like, we're looking at hundreds and hundreds, like the generational, you know, if we look back at our ancestors, it was the church that put the values into the minds of our ancestors, and that got carried on forward. Yeah, it's a lot of shaming in our society, unfortunately. But I was reminded of something I was thinking about. So I have these moments sometimes because I have a very open heart, right? And I really love to share my energy, and when it connects with somebody and you just feel that communion, it's like, you know, it's something very beautiful happening in those moments. But it's the times when you're trying to connect to somebody and you can feel the wall, and you feel like, oh, okay, like, let's try it again. Oh, no, there's definitely a wall. There's a small bit of like, I want to use the word sadness, but that's not the right word to it. It's as though like there's a part of me that's like, oh wow, you know, there's a part of you that's really sad inside that doesn't want to let love in for whatever reason, you know. And love is a beautiful energy that we all need to survive, yet so many people feel like they have to isolate from it, because when you let love in, you also let in some of the darker stuff too.
Yeah.
And so for some people, love experiences have become almost like a weapon to them. And, you know, that's something that I've been trying to, you know, understand deeper, because it's really, I feel it a lot, not people that are close to me, but if I just go to the mall and I, you know, feel into strangers, you know, you feel it. You feel when somebody is blocked or isolated or just not feeling like it's safe to connect to other people. And there's just so many programs that create those experiences. It's just something that I feel really is programmed, again, generationally, you know, but also through the traumas of, you know, people just not recognizing how multidimensional each one of us are, and how the energies and the teachings of our past need to be let go of and made space for new, And so we just continually carry these teachings forward, and it's really detrimental to the communion of the energy and that's what I feel the energy field wants so badly now within the human race, is this connection. And so many people feel so isolated from it. It really is something that I feel is very and I use the word sad, but that's not the right word. It's just the only word that I can even associate with that type of feeling.
Maybe
but
like
yeah, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's a combination maybe of sadness, disappointment, but even if not, it's not really a disappointment. It's just it's I know what that person is feeling in that isolation.
Yeah.
I know what they're missing out on. I know what that feeling is, I guess.
It's a disconnect when you can't connect with another when you're so disconnected from yourself. And when you're taught to search for everything outside of yourself, or taught to seek love outside of yourself, there are so many conditions that come from the wounds of those that you're with as well. And it's the reconnection of yourself. And the reconnection of yourself comes through going within every time you're triggered. So if you're in that whole, we're just walking each other home, any time that you're triggered by, you're experiencing something in your outer world and you're feeling that heightened response, or that your central nervous system's going out of whack, or there's this emotion that is rising, there's this charge within you, that is your inner work to do. And that person ends up being beautiful however they present themselves in the world, because you've had that opportunity to go within.
Mm-hmm.
You had that opportunity. So then no one's ever wrong. And you start seeing them with so much love. Like, thank you. Thank you for that piece of assholery that I've just experienced, because I got to see where I was meeting you in that, like where we were meeting together in that vibration, and there is a connection. Because when you disassociate and make that over there and I'm not responsible for that, and it's like, what is your energy doing? What is your energy doing in relation to that? Is it repelled? Okay, there's something there within you that you're repelling from yourself or not seeing. And the very physical of that energy is going, and like, where is this in my body?
Yeah.
What is it trying to tell me? What is the emotion here? How old is it? And what I naturally go beyond. I did a year-long study with compassionate inquiry with Gabor Mate of it's essentially shadow work for a year, where you're the client and the therapist. But I was naturally going beyond childhood into past lives, into ancestral, and what happens in these reaction spaces, even if it seems little, there's this beautiful person I was working with, and I was coming up for 3 months of coaching every week. And she's allowed me to share this story because it is everything that it says so much. Is that she was annoyed because she bought a new brand of toothpaste for her children, her 3 children, and she was getting pissed off. And she was like, she'd been working with me for nearly 3 months. She's like, it's not about the toothpaste, is it? And I said, no. And I said, let's go into that. And we went in, and it was somewhere the energy was stuck from Roman times, gladiator Roman times, of where she had been in that experience, that part of her. And she got to talk to that part of her. And it was, you're guided to do that, to meet with you in that space and hold space for yourself in that space. It's empowering. And then let go. And then we laughed up, the energy shifted out of her body. I'm like, how do you feel about the toothpaste now, and the kids and the toothpaste? And she's like, it's gone. I'm like, she's like, it's never about the toothpaste. And then we started laughing for ages, because there's seemingly little, no matter how, if there is any rift within you, if you're seeing anything that is away from the eyes of love, or just that is, it is as it is, and it's beautiful in its experience, is your opportunity, which is so freaking it's so magical. It is so magical. And the other thing, Linda, like when we were small, or our family that we chose to be born into. And all these like childhood wounds and traumas and stuck energy and emotions is a beautiful catalyst for all the stuff beyond. And those experiences that we come into of choosing in the deep, like the default spaces of our family system, of our family unit, like victim consciousness, judgment, comparison, shame, guilt, those things you're here to transmute, not just from this life, but through all the energy of your ancestral lines back and all your other lifetimes and all of that jazz. And in that space of, because whoever was around you, and this is what's shifting and changing now, didn't have the conscious awareness to hold space for themselves. Like my parents had come from grandparents who were like, my grandparents were in war and shut down emotions, and hello, never met my granddad because, heart attack, all of that hardened within him kind of thing. Was it all shut it all out. And that was the coping strategy, because that was the safest thing to do. And that's all unraveling now. And it's not just our work that we're doing right now. It's my granddad. I'm supporting him by supporting me in this space. Like he's transitioned, but that whole ancestral line is shifting as well. So when we're doing this work, it's not just us, it's those lines back, it's those lines forward. And we came here for this. We came here equipped to do this. And the people who've been so steeped in the shadow are just erupting in this beautiful light, and remembering. And the more, like, even at the moment, I'm being pushed even like out of my comfort zone even further in what I'm talking about, star seeds. And I'm like, okay. Go even further about talking about where, okay, I'm doing this now. And there's been a lot of, like, for me, a lot of rejection and things like that in my life. But I look at that now and I'm going, even through school, like I didn't have many friends, or rejection and things like that has prepared me for now because I've done all that work. And if there's still more that comes out, that's beautiful about me being so okay with being me at this time. It's all on purpose. It is all such a beautiful space, like in that co-creation with whoever you're in relationship with, or your children, or the wounding that comes up, and that's all of that beautiful opportunity. And having transmuted and come from a space where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because I thought I was a piece of crap, this is monumental for me. No one else has to understand that. But also when we go through these big lifing, humaning struggles, it is easier to relate with another because we can hold space for them when we've had space for ourselves. So it's not that wounded healer, it's that holding space. Because you get it, you understand it, but you're not going to buy into the story because it's beyond that. That whole dance. And I know that, like, the entities and things like that, the shadow work, like, it's just very beyond a lot of the comprehension. And I chose this. I've come to terms like this is like how I'm supporting the shift at the moment. But I had to go into a lot within myself to be able to and let go of a lot of wounded spaces to be able to show up in this capacity. But the shift in the way that as people move on is just igniting that within there. It's like activating and being seen and validated. Like that validation is massive, of just, you're not buying into a story, but just like, I see you right now. It is a connection. Like, I see you. I might not understand. I just got goosebumps. Like, I see you. I see that you're going through something right now. And it's beyond the story, and we just hold space for that. And having space held for you does so much because you're able to transmute.
Absolutely.
And our parents didn't have the consciousness, and there's no wrongness in that.
There isn't. No, I don't believe that there's wrongness in any of it.
Yeah. No, it's all divine.
It's all just divinely set up exactly the way it should be.
Yeah.
And it just falls together the way it should be. So it's like
part of the healing is like releasing of all of the programming and realizing kind of that Maya, that illusion that
yes,
nothing has to be any which way.
I'm getting a lot of energy coming through. I'm getting goosebumps. I was like, before when you guys are talking, I was like shaking, and I'm like, oh, I'm shifting someone's energy here, and now I'm getting all these goosebumps, and I was like, what? I wanted to say as well, like, Linda, when you were talking before about the curiosity right now is really important. Like you were questioning like that whole falling in love. I've been getting that too, like that whole, the words carry vibration and energy as well. And that whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt. It's like, whoa, holy heck. They're attached to things like spells and all that jazz. And there's some words that are cropping up that I've been changing because the word, and I got so used to saying release, and then I learned recently, because we're all learning off each other as well. It's like a and then lease, like bring it back in. And I was like, ha. So I've been like, I go through my own shifts as well, like I'm letting go. And it's that there's stuff in the words that's been come through that has become into my awareness. Linda, it's coming into your awareness. Like that is like, I'm being a bit more like it's intention.
Yeah. And the other thing that I've really I've really started to become aware of, because I hear people say, I wish they would just learn this. You're like putting a curse on that person. Like, I get it. I know that it would be better in life if they did, but at the same time, maybe they're just not supposed to. And it's not up to you to decide that. And if you like put that on them, and this was something that came in the other day. I think I'm watching too much Magicians, but then it's like you're putting them in a time loop. It's a curse. You're putting them in a time loop. So until they get it, they're going to keep doing this.
Yeah. And it's not your business. And why are you uncomfortable at where they're at, and where is that within you? Exactly. Hey, would you like an energetic mirror?
It all has to do with
because when you do that to somebody else, you're doing it to yourself as well. Because with every single curse you put on somebody else, you're actually doing it to yourself.
And what you're seeing in another is the discord is actually within you.
Yeah, the projection, that's the other thing. Jessica and I were talking about that before the show. Is I've been really starting to put the puzzle pieces together in a deep way of like how deep projection actually works. And like sometimes you're just picking up an energy even from the family unit that you then start to attract that in the community, because it's not something that you're learning here, because maybe that's just not something that you're meant to learn, but yet here you are manifesting it in the community, and it's a projection, right? So you're seeing that in the community, even though it may not be really there.
As a validation, for where you're at.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's like, oh my goodness, it's so amazing.
There's some weird stuff. Well, I say weird's the new normal for me, but stuff that comes up for me, like I was in conversation with someone a couple of months ago, and what was actually happening, because they were like, why are you saying that? That's mean. And I was like, this person couldn't understand that in that moment, my energy had connected deeply with their subconscious, and their words came up through me, because I was like, how is this happening? This doesn't sound like me. It come up through me and out my mouth to show them, and they felt uncomfortable. And I walked away and I was like, that wasn't actually me. And I was like, whoa, that just happened. Okay. And then I just cleared up my I was like, oh, so this is something I can do now. And then I cleared out my energy space with this. Or I was at the beach a few months ago, and I looked at someone, and this really nasty comment came through my head, like the energy of that. And I was like, that's not me. What is it? My new magic trick that I discovered in that space was I was reading the energy of a stuck comment that either they had put there or someone else had put there that was stuck in their auric field. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I can do that now. And then I cleared out the energy of that space so that I'm in like the pure space. I was like, whoa, this is the energy of stuff that's going, whoo.
I know. I've definitely been in that space several times myself, where it's like you all of a sudden have this string of thinking. You're like, where the stink did that come from? And then you'll see the person. You're like, oh, okay. Well, either you don't think very fondly of yourself, or you don't think somebody doesn't think fondly. Like there's something going on over there.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna have to skedaddle soon.
I know it's time for us to get going anyways. That was a long one, but hey, it was a really great conversation, and thank you so much, ladies. It's such a great conversation.
Thank you.